T-Test team. Now, naturally, before they came up against Australia in this particular Ashes Test, England had actually been steamrolling opposition using this approach, which incorporated high-paced attacking cricket, more often than not looking to play quick shots and also ensuring that you were constantly looking aggressive, not just in terms of your stroke play but also in terms of your mindset and the kind of strategy calls that were being made. However, there has been plenty of criticism about that now, because at times England's approach during the 2023 Ashes has bordered on being farcical and over the top and one-dimensional rather than looking to be attacking. It's seemingly more like being attacking for the sake of being attacking. And the latest person to join the chorus of people actually looking down at, or let's say talking down on the approach, is Sunil Gavaskar. Now, of course, there are a lot has been said about why it's not been effective, but Sunny in his column for Midday does tend to hit the nail right on the head when he talks about how it is that Australia were very smart in figuring out the Bazball approach, but also pointing out some very obvious shortcomings about the English approach, not just in terms of their cricket, but also in terms of how it is they have chosen to deflect away from the real issues and instead focus on things like the quote-unquote spirit of cricket. We'll take a little in-depth look at what exactly it is Saniji has said right about now. Let's first start with this one rather interesting, we seem to be having some issues with our, here we go. First off, we are talking about the strategy and how quickly it is that Australia figured it out. He said that while the Australian attack was taken by surprise at the approach of the England batters in the first Test match, they quickly realized that this Bazball approach couldn't succeed against their attack on a consistent basis. And that is actually correct, because again, it wasn't able to succeed against Australia when they were actually bowling well. And of course, when you're talking about them bowling well, it's not just about them using the conditions to their advantage, but also the fact that they realized that England's batters like it when you pitch it up. And considering the fact that you had flat pitches, you weren't really getting that much movement off the pitch. And so when the ball got old, it was very easy to bat. So what it is that Australia did? Well, they ended up adopting a short ball technique, which worked wonders because they banged it in constantly. The English batters were not comfortable at all against that tactic. And thereafter, it looked like they had found the perfect antidote to Bazball. But that wasn't the only thing, of course, that Gavaskar criticized. He did also mention the fact that, there was plenty of talk about the spirit of cricket and talking about or focusing on things that in his mind weren't necessarily important. In fact, this is what he said. He's saying that the British media unsurprisingly focused on the Bairstow dismissal. This has been the usual diversionary tactic used by the overseas media for years. Now again, that's a pretty harsh but also a very fair take, because again, it has been established that many times in the past you will see a lot of these media outlets choose to focus on things like this rather than focus on the shortcomings of the English side, which just were not just tactical but also in terms of the kind of shots they were playing more often than not, which is wasteful, unnecessary cricket shots. But instead, most of the hue and cry from the English side has been about the Bairstow dismissal, spirit of cricket and stuff like that, which, should be told, shouldn't really matter that much in the grand scheme of things. And when you're talking about spirit of cricket, there's been enough that the English cricketers themselves have done that don't necessarily go with the quote-unquote spirit of the game. So it's best to leave that aside, talk about rules, following rules, and also more importantly about using the right approach. But a lot of people have also said that maybe this is a learning curve moment for Bazball, the tactic, and maybe it can just go ahead and kind of evolve to become better rather than being one-dimensional like it is right now. Well, Gavaskar has a slightly different opinion. He said, as for Bazball, forget it. It happened against lesser quality bowling, but against a top-class Australian attack, it's back to good old grinding batting and not T20 shots. Test cricket is, after all, Test cricket. That last line, very important. Test cricket is, after all, Test cricket. It isn't just about going out there and playing slam bang shots, trying to play red ball cricket like white ball cricket in a bid to make it look better. Test cricket is about grinding it out. It's about taking your time, choosing your moments to attack, picking your moments to defend, and then emerging victorious, because that's the thing. It tests every facet of your game, not just one facet like the English players have been showcasing a lot. Yes, their attacking game has been incredible, but what happens when that attacking game gets nullified? Well, what happens is they're down 2-0 in the Ashes. That's what has happened, at least up until the point of the third test, or before the beginning of the third test. They were down 2-0 and the series was slowly but surely slipping away. That is, of course, what Sunnyji has to feel about this. Do you agree with him? Do you disagree with him? You can let us know in the comments below. And don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap that bell icon as well. Follow us across social media and don't forget to download the AajTak app. Plus, if you're already on the channel, go ahead, check out some other videos that we've done. But for now, from my side, it's goodbye.